I'm here with artist Ian Young, and I'm going to ask you a couple of questions of your exhibit. What is the name of your exhibit?
The name of my exhibit was Man's Ruin, and it's a three-part piece, three-part exhibit of see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil.
Your first piece, Speak No Evil. What I thought it was interesting are the microphones.
Mm.
Bodies of a snake, vintage like. What is the meaning behind that?
When I put microphones in, it's just kind of meant to show that there are people in the world that intentionally misunderstand you and intentionally misuse your words to misinform, to cause confusion, and to, smear, just to cause a smear campaign. And so that was what that was for. It was just kind of a visual way to show a sinister way to twist a person's words up to your advantage.
I see. So then, are people's words or messages often misunderstood?
Yeah, I would say so. If you're talking directly to a person, then you might get, an authentic and genuine perspective from that person. But more often than not, I would suggest that you speak directly to a person in order to get their perspective, because often you can hear someone else's interpretation of what someone said, and they might be twisting their words around to their advantage.
Got it. We come to the second piece, See No Evil. What's the message behind the jewelry and the money?
Well, there's individuals in the world that allow those things to interpret what they see and what they don't see. You can turn your head, you can turn a blind eye to some, wrongdoing or some things that are wrong, if you know that you're gaining from it. And we deal with a lot of different energies in the world, and that unfortunately there are some folks in our world that allow those things to determine what they see or what they don't see.
So, do you feel people turn their heads to what's going wrong in the world?
Yeah, I do. Sometimes you might feel like, oh, it's not my job, or it's none of my business, or that'll get in the way of what I'm getting, or the things that you talked about, the jewelry and money and things that we sometimes are confused or allow to cloud our vision, so sometimes we do turn a blind eye to what's really going on in the world or what's really happening, and because it'll cut off what we're getting. And sometimes that's a little unfortunate. Sometimes it's very unfortunate, actually. And nobody's innocent, nobody's saints. We're all guilty of it in one way or another, but that was just a visual way of representing how sometimes evil can use those things to mask or to hide the fact that it's still evil. You know, they can use these sort of little toys and trinkets and things, people, places, and things, in order to kind of shield the fact that, yeah, these are blatant wrongdoings, but you didn't see anything, you know, you didn't hear anything, you know. Just keep your mouth shut.
We come to the third piece, hear no evil. What is the meaning behind the halo?
So the halo, it's interesting that it's in all of them, but the halo I liked, when I look at art, sometimes it's mainly surrounding a person that had passed on, you know, but there's a few paintings that, you know, the person is still with us. And I found that really interesting. I was like, okay, so it doesn't necessarily have to be someone that's passed on. It can represent the presence that a person has, or an aura. You know, sometimes you can be around a person and you can be like, oh, okay, yeah, that seems like a good person or a kind person. Or there might be an individual that you come around them and you just kind of feel like, I might want to minimize my interaction with this person. You know, it's just kind of, it's a visual representation of your energy, you know. That was just kind of a conclusion that I came to of, yeah, the person doesn't necessarily have to be passed on. They can be here in person, still with us, and it kind of represents their presence or their energy. Yeah, that's what that halo is.
What is an energy vampire?
Yeah, so this piece right here, it's a visual representation of people that can kind of, that are unable to create their own energy. They have to latch on to, they gotta latch on to people. They always have to surround themselves with people. They always have to be in an environment where there's lots of different things going on, because they have an inability to create their own authenticity, and their own what that halo is. They're unable to create that for themselves. Their presence is false. And so an energy vampire is someone that, you ever been talking to a person and after you speak to them, you just feel drained, you know, or you just kind of feel like, oh man, I gotta get pumped up to deal with this person, because I know as soon as I'm finished talking to them, I'm gonna be exhausted. And I didn't mean for that to be so wordy, but I can show you better than I can tell you pretty much what an energy vampire is. I think we've all dealt with people like that. I think we've all experienced an interaction with a person or people where we know that it's going to be draining.
That's very interesting. Do you think that we are meant to balance the sinister energy, or just ignore it and move on, or avoid it and move on, or learn from it and move on?
Well, the common thing that from your question is we do need to continue, we need to persevere, we need to move on, but man, I think that's just one of the great challenges of life. There's no real of course we know there's no rules, there's no protocol to life, but me personally, I try to be well adjusted. I try as much as I can. I try to be balanced. You know, if I notice that I'm in the presence of people like we were talking about, I try to balance that with some people with good energy. If I'm around some folks that have bad energy, then I try to, you know, counteract that with some good energy, you know. And like I was saying, there's no rules. Here's what you should do or anything like that. Like, who cares what any one person says? But what I try to do is like what you were saying is, yeah, I try to balance. I don't try to avoid, you know, because we can be shut-ins, we can not deal with anything or not deal with the world, but yeah, I try to balance. If there's too much of one, I try to kind of go around another. If I'm around a whole bunch of what I describe to be chaotic energy, other people might describe it as lively energy, but if I'm around a lot of stuff that's going, you know, real lively, it's a lot happening, I try to balance it out by going to like a record store or a bookstore or just being in my own space, you know. But balance is important. And yeah, we definitely have to persevere. We can't just get stuck because what are you gonna do? You know, you can't just stay in one place. You're not evolving, you're not growing. And I think we all like to consider ourselves in a state of evolution or growing or growth.
One last question for you. What was your inspiration for these three pieces?
I tried to visually capture through hear no evil, speak no evil, and see no evil, just our interactions with people of our world that are, I'm hesitant to say evil, but I'm just people that are void of empathy. People that intentionally misunderstand people. They know what you mean, but they're intentionally misunderstanding you. That was my inspiration for this. They're either unaware or they don't care. Their effect on people. Like zero self-awareness. But it was my goal to show you this is what that feels like. And it was a way that let another person, maybe a viewer of these pieces, who felt like no one got it, whose words have been used against them and they felt like they're just gonna shut up because no one gets it. If you saw what I tried to display and you felt that it was relatable, then I would hope that that was helpful and helped to be healing in some way.
Well, it's an absolute honor to be here with you, Ian. Speak no evil, see no evil, hear no evil. I'm here with artist Ian Young with One